I woke with a start, the acrid scent of smoke filling my nostrils. For a moment, my mind refused to grasp the reality of what was happening until I heard the crackling roar of flames. "Fire! Everyone out!" My voice echoed through the chaos as I rushed to wake my wife Julia and our children. The fire had engulfed our living room, devouring memories and possessions that had defined our lives together. Outside, the night air was cool, a stark contrast to the heat and panic inside. Firefighters arrived swiftly, battling the blaze that threatened to consume everything we owned. Standing in the flickering glow of the flames, I felt a mixture of relief that my family was safe in devastation at the sight of our home in ruins. In the days that followed, amidst the debris and the ashes, we faced a decision: rebuild or relocate. Julia was adamant we would rebuild. Our home held too many cherished memories to simply abandon it. We sifted through insurance paperwork and endless calls, but the question of who would rebuild our home remained. Enter Sam. Charismatic and confident, he strode into our lives like a beacon of hope amidst the ruins. His firm handshake and easy smile reassured Julia instantly, and I, weary and overwhelmed by the loss, welcomed any semblance of positivity. Sam's vision for our restored home was ambitious yet practical, and Julia was captivated by his passion for craftsmanship. As the weeks went by, Sam became a fixture in our daily lives. His team of builders arrived early each morning, their tools and expertise slowly piecing together what the fire had torn apart. Julia was often there, discussing plans with Sam over coffee, her eyes sparkling with enthusiasm I hadn't seen in months. They laughed easily, shared inside jokes about design quirks and material choices. At first, I was grateful for Sam's ability to lift Julia's spirits during such a trying time. But gradually I noticed a shift. Julia's outings became more frequent and less predictable. She would linger after the builders had left, citing discussions about tile patterns or window placements. Her phone rang at odd hours, and she would step out into the night to take calls, speaking in hushed tones that left me uneasy. One evening, I decided to confront her gently, as we sat in the temporary housing we'd arranged. "Julia, is everything okay?" I asked, trying to keep my voice steady despite the knot of anxiety in my stomach. She looked at me, her gaze flickering with something I couldn't quite place, a mix of guilt and defiance. "Of course, Michael. Why wouldn't it be?" Her tone was light, almost too casual, but her eyes avoided mine. I wanted to believe her. I wanted to dismiss my growing suspicions as paranoia born from stress and exhaustion. Yet the signs were there, like faint whispers in the wind, a lingering touch, a shared glance that held a fraction too long. I couldn't shake the feeling that something had changed between us, something I couldn't quite grasp. One afternoon, while sorting through salvaged belongings, I overheard Julia on the phone in the next room. Her voice, usually warm and familiar, now held a note of intimacy I hadn't heard in years. "I miss you too," she whispered, her laughter tinkling softly, like the distant chime of a bell. My heart sank, the pieces of a puzzle I hadn't wanted to solve falling into place with painful clarity. That evening, after putting the children to bed, I confronted Sam. I asked him directly about his relationship with Julia, hoping against hope that my suspicions would be proven wrong. Sam's initial surprise quickly gave way to a guarded demeanor, his responses measured and his eyes avoiding mine. "Michael, I assure you my interactions with Julia have been purely professional," he stated, his voice steady but lacking the usual warmth. I left the conversation unsettled, the weight of Sam's unspoken truths heavy on my shoulders. That night, unable to sleep, I wrestled with the turmoil brewing within me. What did I do now? How could I confront Julia without pushing her away further? Our marriage, already scarred by the fire's devastation, now faced a new, more insidious threat. The days that followed were a blur of strained conversations and restless nights. Julia seemed distant, her smiles forced and her laughter hollow. We circled each other like wary strangers, tiptoeing around the unspoken truth that hung between us like a veil. One evening, unable to bear the silence any longer, I confronted Julia. We sat in the dimly lit kitchen, the remnants of a meal untouched between us. "Julia, please tell me what's going on," I pleaded, my voice cracking with emotion. She hesitated, her gaze fixed on the tabletop, fingers tracing invisible patterns on the worn wood. Finally, she looked up, tears shimmering in her eyes. "Michael, I'm so sorry," she whispered, her voice barely audible above the quiet hum of the refrigerator. "It's Sam. We've become close. I didn't mean for it to happen, but—" Her words trailed off, lost in the weight of their confession. My world shattered in that moment. The woman I loved, the mother of my children, had found solace in the arms of another man amidst the rubble of our lives. Anger, hurt, and betrayal warred within me, threatening to drown out the love I still felt, buried deep beneath the wreckage of our marriage. "I don't understand, Julia," I managed to choke out, my voice thick with emotion. Why didn't you talk to me?" The questions spilled from me in a torrent of anguish, each word a dagger in my heart. Julia's tears fell freely now, her shoulders shaking with the weight of her confession. "I felt alone, Michael," she admitted, her voice raw with pain. "The fire, the stress. I needed someone who understood, who listened. Sam was there. And I let it go too far." Her words hung between us, heavy with regret and longing for a time when our love had been enough. We sat in silence, the seconds stretching into eternity as we grappled with the shattered remnants of our marriage. Could we rebuild again, or had the fire that ravaged our home also consumed the last flicker of hope between us? The days that followed were a blur of emotional turmoil and difficult decisions. We sought solace in the guidance of a therapist, desperate to salvage what remained of our shattered bond. Each session brought us closer to understanding the wounds we had inflicted upon each other and the fragile threads that still bound us together. Slowly, tentatively, we began to rebuild, not just our home, but the trust and intimacy that had been lost in the ashes of betrayal. It was a painful journey marked by tears and forgiveness, but also by moments of unexpected grace and renewed hope. As the last nail was hammered into place and the final coat of paint applied, our home emerged from the ruins, stronger and more resilient than before. We moved back in, our steps tentative yet determined, carrying with us the lessons learned and the scars that bore witness to our journey. Our marriage, once teetering on the brink of collapse, found new footing in the shared struggle to rebuild what had been lost. We learned to communicate more openly, to cherish the moments of joy amidst the challenges of daily life. The wounds of betrayal would never fully heal, but they became a part of our story, a testament to the strength of love tested by fire. And as we stood together, hand in hand, watching our children play in the backyard of our restored home, I knew that while the scars of the past would always linger, they were now overshadowed by the promise of a future rebuilt on a foundation of hard-won trust and enduring love. The days following my confrontation with Julia were a haze of conflicting emotions and unanswered questions. Each morning felt like a battle to maintain a semblance of normalcy for our children while grappling with the turmoil churning inside me. Julia, too, seemed caught in a whirlwind of guilt and remorse, her attempts at conversation stilted and strained. I found solace in the routine of overseeing the reconstruction of our home. Sam and his crew worked tirelessly, the rhythmic sounds of hammering and sawing filling the once silent halls. It was a symphony of progress amidst the chaos of our personal lives, a stark reminder that life moved forward even when our hearts were mired in uncertainty. One evening, as dusk settled over the skeletal frame of what would soon be our new living room, I found myself alone with Sam. The air between us crackled with unspoken tension, the weight of our respective truths hanging heavy in the gathering darkness. "Sam," I began hesitantly, my voice hoarse from hours spent in silent contemplation. He looked up from where he was measuring a section of wall, his expression guarded yet tinged with a hint of resignation. "I need to understand," I continued, my words measured but firm. What happened between you and Julia? Sam paused, his features betraying a flicker of emotion before settling into a mask of professional detachment. Michael, I wish I could give you a simple answer, he replied, his voice steady despite the turmoil brewing beneath the surface. Julia and we connected over the project. She was passionate about the restoration, and I listened. His words landed like a blow, the implications sinking in with painful clarity. I had always admired Julia's enthusiasm for our home, her ability to see beauty in the midst of chaos. But now, that same passion had led her into the arms of another man, a man who had offered understanding when I had been consumed by my own grief and responsibilities. Why didn't you stop it? The question escaped before I could censor myself, the bitterness of betrayal seeping into my tone. Sam met my gaze evenly, his jaw tightening imperceptibly. I tried, Michael, he admitted quietly. But Julia, she needed someone to listen, to make her feel seen. I never meant for it to go this far. Anger surged within me, threatening to spill over in a torrent of accusations and recriminations. Yet, as I looked at Sam, the man who had become an unwitting participant in the unraveling of my marriage, I saw not a villain but a flawed human being caught in the same storm of emotions as myself. Does she love you? The question hung between us, heavy with unspoken implications. Sam's silence spoke volumes, the weight of his unspoken truth settling over us like a shroud. I don't know, Michael, he finally admitted, his voice barely a whisper. But I know she's hurting, just like you. The admission pierced through the armor of my anger, exposing the raw vulnerability beneath. Julia's pain, our pain, was a palpable presence in the air, a testament to the fragile bonds that held us together even as they threatened to tear us apart. We have to finish this, I said quietly, my voice steadier than I felt inside. Sam nodded in silent agreement, a shared understanding passing between us. The reconstruction of our home had become a metaphor for the reconstruction of our lives, a daunting task fraught with uncertainty but infused with a flicker of hope. In the days that followed, I found myself watching Julia more closely, searching for signs of the woman I had married beneath the layers of guilt and regret. She was distant yet present, her attempts at normalcy a fragile facade that masked the turmoil raging beneath. One evening, after putting the children to bed, I found Julia standing alone on the porch, her silhouette outlined against the backdrop of a star-studded sky. The distance between us felt insurmountable, a gaping chasm that echoed with unspoken words and unshed tears. Julia, I began softly, stepping closer until the warmth of her body radiated against mine. She turned to face me, her eyes glistening with unshed tears. Michael, she whispered, her voice thick with emotion. I'm so sorry. The weight of her words hung heavy in the air, a fragile bridge spanning the divide between us. I don't know how to fix this, she admitted, her voice breaking on a sob. But I want to try. Her words were a lifeline in the darkness, a flicker of hope amidst the wreckage of our shattered dreams. We have to rebuild, I said quietly, my heart aching with the enormity of our task. For ourselves, for our children, for what we once had, Julia nodded, her fingers intertwining with mine as we stood together beneath the canopy of stars. The night air was cool against our skin, a reminder that even in the midst of chaos, there was beauty to be found. As we turned to re-enter the house hand in hand, I knew that our journey was far from over. The road ahead would be fraught with obstacles and uncertainties, but we would navigate it together, one step at a time. The sound of Sam's footsteps echoed behind us, a silent presence in the darkness. He paused for a moment, his gaze lingering on the silhouette of our intertwined figures before disappearing into the night. In that fleeting moment, I felt a twinge of empathy for the man who had unwittingly become a part of our story, a story of love tested by fire, of betrayal and forgiveness, and of the enduring strength of the human spirit. Weeks turned into months as the restoration of our home neared completion. The scars left by the fire had begun to fade, replaced by the fresh scent of sawdust and the vibrant hues of new paint. Yet despite the visible progress, the underlying fractures in our marriage remained painfully evident, a testament to the emotional inferno we were still navigating. Julia and I moved back into our restored home with a mix of trepidation and hope. The children's excitement was a balm against the unease that clung to us both. Their laughter filled the rooms, a stark contrast to the silence that often settled between Julia and me. We attempted to fall back into our routines, but the shadow of betrayal lingered, casting a long and unwelcome shadow over our attempts at normalcy. One afternoon, while the children were at school, Julia suggested we start attending therapy. The idea was daunting. Exposing our raw wounds to a stranger felt like peeling away the last of our defenses. Yet as I looked into her eyes, haunted and hopeful, I realized that this was a step we needed to take if we were to find a way back to each other. Our therapist, Dr. Collins, was a woman in her early 50s with kind eyes and a gentle demeanor. Her office was a haven of calm, adorned with soothing colors and soft, inviting furniture. It was a stark contrast to the turmoil we brought with us. As we settled into our respective seats, I felt the weight of our journey pressing down on me, a heavy burden I was unsure I could shoulder alone. "Thank you for coming," Dr. Collins began, her voice a soft murmur that invited trust. "The first step is often the hardest, but it's also the most important." Julia and I exchanged a tentative glance, our hands intertwined in a gesture of solidarity. "We're here because we want to rebuild," I said quietly, my voice wavering under the weight of our shared pain. "We need help finding a way forward." Dr. Collins nodded, her gaze shifting between us with a mixture of empathy and understanding. "Healing takes time," she replied gently. "But the fact that you're both here, willing to try, is a testament to the strength of your commitment to each other." The sessions that followed were a roller coaster of emotions, each one peeling back the layers of our shared history to expose the vulnerabilities beneath. We delved into the moments that had brought us together and the fractures that had driven us apart. Julia's voice would often break as she recounted the loneliness that had led her to seek solace in Sam, and my own anger and hurt would flare as I struggled to understand how we had lost our way. There were days when the pain felt insurmountable, when the rawness of our emotions threatened to tear us apart, rather than bring us closer together. Yet amidst the tears and the anguish, there were also moments of profound clarity, glimpses of the love that had once defined us, now tempered by the hardships we had endured. One evening, after a particularly intense session, Julia and I found ourselves sitting on the back porch, the night air cool against our skin. The stars overhead shimmered like distant beacons, their light a reminder of the vastness of the universe and the smallness of our troubles in comparison. "Do you think we'll ever be okay again?" Julia asked quietly, her gaze fixed on the horizon. There was a vulnerability in her voice that mirrored the uncertainty I felt within myself. "I don't know," I admitted, the honesty of my words a balm against the uncertainty that had plagued us for so long. "But I want to believe we can be. We've come this far, haven't we?" Julia nodded, her fingers tracing the worn wood of the porch railing. "I want to believe that too," she murmured, her voice thick with emotion. "I miss us, Michael. I miss who we used to be." Her confession struck a chord deep within me, a poignant reminder of the love that had once burned bright between us. "I miss us too," I replied softly, reaching for her hand. "But maybe we can find a way to be even stronger, to build something new from the ashes." As we sat together, our hands intertwined beneath the starlit sky, I felt a flicker of hope, a fragile ember that hinted at the possibility of renewal. The road ahead would be long and fraught with challenges, but for the first time in months, I felt a glimmer of belief that we could find our way through the darkness. Our therapy sessions became a lifeline, each one a step toward understanding and forgiveness. Dr. Collins guided us through exercises designed to rebuild trust, to foster communication, and to nurture the flickering flame of our relationship. We learned to speak openly about our fears and desires, to listen with empathy rather than judgment, and to find solace in the small victories that marked our progress. Julia's relationship with Sam, once a specter that haunted our every interaction, began to fade into the background. She had ended their contact completely, a painful but necessary step in our journey toward healing. There were still moments when the memory of their affair would rear its head, a reminder of the fragility of trust and the resilience of the heart. But with each passing day, those memories lost their sharpness, replaced by the growing strength of our renewed bond. Our home, too, transformed alongside us. The once charred remains had been rebuilt with care and attention to detail, each room a testament to our resilience. The walls, freshly painted in warm hues, embraced us like a comforting embrace. The floors, polished and gleaming, reflected the light of the new beginnings we had worked so hard to create. One afternoon, as we stood together in the living room, admiring the final touches, I felt a sense of peace settle over me. Julia's smile, genuine and unguarded, mirrored my own. We had come through the fire, both literal and metaphorical, and emerged stronger for it. "Do you think we did it?" Julia asked, her voice a soft murmur that held a hint of wonder. I wrapped my arm around her, pulling her close. "I think we're on our way," I replied, my heart swelling with a mixture of pride and hope. "We've built something beautiful here, Julia. Something worth fighting for." As we stood together, the sun streaming through the windows, I felt a profound sense of gratitude. For the journey we had undertaken, for the love that had sustained us, and for the promise of a future built on a foundation of trust and enduring commitment. Our home, once a symbol of our shared pain, had become a beacon of hope, a testament to the strength of the human spirit and the enduring power of love. In the days that followed, we continued to nurture our relationship, finding joy in the simple moments of togetherness. The children, blissfully unaware of the turmoil we had navigated, thrived in the warmth of our restored home. Their laughter, echoing through the halls, was a reminder of the resilience of the human heart and the promise of a brighter tomorrow. Julia and I, hand in hand, faced the future with renewed hope, our hearts intertwined in a dance of love and forgiveness. The road ahead would undoubtedly be fraught with challenges, but we were ready to face them together, secure in the knowledge that we had built something unbreakable from the ashes of our past. As we sat together on the porch, watching the sunset paint the sky in hues of gold and crimson, I knew that our journey was far from over. But for the first time in months, I felt a sense of peace, a quiet confidence that, no matter what lay ahead, we would face it side by side, our love stronger than ever before. Our home stood proudly once more, a testament to resilience and determination. Yet beneath its newly restored walls, the delicate fabric of our marriage continued to mend in fits and starts. We had built something beautiful, but now the challenge was to fill it with the substance of a life renewed and strengthened by trials we had never expected to face. Julia and I had worked hard to rebuild our relationship, but the process was neither swift nor straightforward. The scars left by her affair with Sam were deep, and though we had made significant progress, there were moments when those old wounds would ache, reminding us of the fragility of trust. One sunny Saturday morning, as we sipped coffee in the kitchen and watched the children play in the backyard, Julia suggested something that caught me off guard. "Michael, I've been thinking," she began hesitantly, her eyes searching mine for understanding. "Maybe it's time for us to spend some time apart. Not a separation, but just a brief break to reflect on everything." The suggestion felt like a punch to the gut. We had come so far, worked so hard to rebuild our connection. The thought of being apart, even temporarily, seemed like a step backward. Yet, as I looked into Julia's eyes, I saw a mixture of fear and hope. A hope that maybe some space would allow us to gain the clarity we desperately needed. "Where would you go?" I asked, trying to keep the tremor from my voice. "Just to my sister's place," Julia replied softly. She offered her guest room. "It's not far, just a few towns over." I swallowed hard, wrestling with the implications of her request. "And how long do you think?" "A week, maybe 2, Julia said, her voice wavering. "Just long enough for us both to think about what we really want." The idea of being apart from her, of facing the days and nights without her presence, filled me with a gnawing anxiety. Yet beneath the fear I recognized the wisdom in her suggestion. We had been so focused on rebuilding together that perhaps we had lost sight of ourselves as individuals, of our own needs and desires. "All right," I agreed, my voice thick with emotion. "If you think it will help, then let's try it." Julia's relief was palpable, and she reached out to squeeze my hand, her touch warm and reassuring. "Thank you, Michael," she whispered. "I think it will help us both." The day Julia left was a blur of forced smiles and reluctant goodbyes. She hugged the children tightly, assuring them that she would be back soon, and kissed me gently on the cheek before climbing into her car. As I watched her drive away, a sense of emptiness settled over me, the weight of our separation pressing down on my chest. The days that followed were a strange mix of solitude and introspection. I threw myself into my work, using the demands of my job as a distraction from the ache of Julia's absence. The house felt oddly quiet without her, the familiar rhythms of our life disrupted by the void left in her wake. Each evening after the children were in bed, I found myself wandering through the house, my thoughts a tangled web of memories and regrets. I missed Julia fiercely, the sound of her laughter, the warmth of her presence, the way she had always known how to make me feel whole even in the darkest of times. Yet, in the midst of the loneliness, I also found moments of clarity. I realized how much I had relied on Julia for my sense of identity, how I had allowed the demands of our marriage to eclipse my own needs and desires. The separation, painful as it was, forced me to confront my own vulnerabilities and to rediscover the parts of myself that had been lost in the chaos of the past months. One evening, as I sat alone on the porch, I received a call from Julia. Her voice, though tinged with sadness, held a note of determination. "How you doing, Michael?" she asked softly. "I'm managing," I replied, my heart lifting at the sound of her voice. "I miss you, though. A lot." "I miss you too," Julia admitted, her voice cracking slightly. "But I think this time apart has been good for me. For us. It's given me space to think about what I really want, about what we need to do to make our marriage work." Her words were a balm against the uncertainty that had plagued me. "And what do you want, Julia?" I asked quietly, my heart pounding in my chest. "I want us to keep trying," she said, her voice resolute. "But I also want us to be honest with each other, to acknowledge the things that went wrong and to work together to fix them. I don't want to go back to how things were before. I want us to be better." Her confession struck a chord deep within me, a reminder of the strength and resilience that had always defined our relationship. "I want that too," I replied, my voice thick with emotion. "I want us to be better. For ourselves and for the kids." The conversation with Julia left me with a renewed sense of purpose. I resolved to use the remaining days of our separation to reflect on my own role in the challenges we had faced, to confront the fears and insecurities that had festered beneath the surface of our marriage. I spent long hours journaling, pouring my thoughts and emotions onto the page in a cathartic release of pent-up frustration and longing. I revisited old hobbies that had fallen by the wayside, finding solace in the simple joys of cooking, reading, and gardening. The time alone, though difficult, allowed me to reconnect with parts of myself that had been overshadowed by the demands of our life together. When Julia returned, 2 weeks to the day after she had left, there was a palpable shift in the air. We stood in the entryway, hesitant and uncertain, the weight of our separation hanging between us like a fragile thread. "How was it?" I asked, my voice barely above a whisper. "It was hard," Julia admitted, her eyes glistening with unshed tears. "But it was also necessary. I had a lot of time to think, to really examine what went wrong and how we can make things right." "And what did you decide?" I asked, my heart pounding in my chest. Julia took a deep breath, her gaze steady and unwavering. "I decided that I want to fight for us," she said quietly. "I want to rebuild our marriage, to create something stronger and more honest than what we had before. But I also need to know that you're willing to do the same." Her words were a lifeline in the darkness, a beacon of hope amidst the uncertainty that had plagued us for so long. "I'm willing," I replied, my voice steady despite the tumult of emotions swirling within me. "I want to rebuild, Julia. I want us to be better." The days that followed were a careful dance of rediscovery and reconciliation. We approached our relationship with a newfound honesty, acknowledging the mistakes we had made and committing to the hard work of rebuilding trust. The therapy sessions continued, each one a step toward healing the wounds that had scarred our marriage. We established new routines, carving out time for each other amidst the demands of work and parenting. We went on walks together, exploring the neighborhood and rediscovering the simple pleasures of each other's company. We cooked meals together, sharing the kitchen in a dance of familiar rhythms and new possibilities. As the weeks turned into months, I felt the bonds between us grow stronger, tempered by the trials we had faced and the lessons we had learned. Our home, once a symbol of our shared pain, had become a sanctuary, a place where we could nurture our love and rebuild our lives together. One evening, as we sat together on the porch watching the sun set over the horizon, I felt a profound sense of peace settle over me. Julia's hand was warm in mine, her presence a comforting balm against the uncertainties that had once threatened to tear us apart. "Do you think we'll be okay?" Julia asked softly, her voice a tentative whisper in the gathering dusk. "I think we're on our way," I replied, my heart swelling with a mixture of pride and hope. "We've come so far, Julia. We've built something beautiful here, and I believe we can make it even stronger." As we sat together hand in hand, I knew that our journey was far from over. There would be challenges ahead, moments of doubt and fear, but for the first time in months, I felt a quiet confidence that we could face them together, united by a love that had been tested by fire and emerged stronger for it. Our home, once a place of broken dreams, had become a beacon of hope, a testament to the resilience of the human spirit and the enduring power of love. And as we faced the future, I knew that, no matter what lay ahead, we would navigate it side by side, our hearts intertwined in a dance of forgiveness, trust, and unwavering commitment. Autumn crept in quietly, painting our neighborhood in hues of amber and gold. Our home, bathed in the warm light of late afternoon, stood as a testament to our journey, a symbol of renewal amidst the backdrop of fallen leaves. Julia and I had weathered the storm of our separation, and now, as the days grew shorter and the nights cooler, we faced the challenge of building a new foundation for our marriage. The initial optimism of our reconciliation had given way to the realities of day-to-day life. Our efforts to rebuild trust were often fraught with setbacks and miscommunications, moments when the old wounds would flare and the shadows of doubt would creep in. Yet, despite the difficulties, there was a shared determination to keep moving forward, to hold on to the fragile thread of hope that had brought us back together. One crisp October morning, as I sat at the kitchen table nursing a cup of coffee, Julia walked in with a thoughtful expression. "Michael, there's something I want to discuss," she said, her tone measured and deliberate. I looked up, my heart quickening at the serious note in her voice. "What is it?" I asked, setting down my mug. She took a deep breath, her eyes meeting mine with a mixture of determination and vulnerability. "I think we should meet with Sam," she said quietly. The suggestion landed like a lead weight in my chest, a surge of emotions tightening my throat. Sam. His name alone was enough to conjure a maelstrom of memories and feelings I had worked so hard to suppress. "Why?" I asked, my voice barely above a whisper. "I know it's a lot to ask," Julia admitted, her gaze unwavering. "But I believe that facing this, confronting it together, might help us find closure. It's not about forgiving him or even reconciling with him. It's about us, about putting this behind us for good." The thought of seeing Sam again, of facing the man who had come between us, filled me with a deep sense of dread. Yet as I looked into Julia's eyes, I saw the determination that had fueled our journey back to each other. This was a part of her healing, a step she needed to take to fully move on from the pain of the past. "All right," I said finally, my voice strained but resolute. "If you think it will help, we'll do it." Arranging the meeting was a delicate process, fraught with tension and second-guessing. We chose a neutral location, a small cafe on the outskirts of town, away from the familiarity of our home and the memories it held. The drive there was silent, the air between us charged with unspoken fears and uncertainties. As we pulled into the parking lot, I felt a knot of anxiety tighten in my chest. Sam was already there, sitting at a table near the window, his gaze fixed on the street outside. He looked up as we approached, his expression a mixture of apprehension and guilt. "Thank you for meeting us," Julia said quietly as we took our seats. Her voice was calm, but I could see the strain in her eyes, the effort it took to maintain her composure. Sam nodded, his hands clasped tightly in his lap. "I appreciate the chance to talk," he replied, his voice low and earnest. "I owe you both an apology. For everything." The awkwardness of the situation was palpable, a heavy tension that settled over us like a shroud. I forced myself to meet Sam's gaze, to look into the eyes of the man who had become an unwitting participant in the unraveling of my marriage. "You hurt us," I said finally, my voice taut with the weight of suppressed anger. "You hurt our family." Sam nodded, his eyes clouded with remorse. "I know," he said quietly, "and I'm truly sorry. I never intended for things to go this far. I was selfish, and I let my feelings get the better of me." His admission hung in the air, a stark reminder of the tangled emotions and choices that had brought us to this moment. Julia reached for my hand under the table, her fingers warm and reassuring against my own. "Why did you do it?" I asked, the question escaping before I could stop myself. "Why didn't you stop when you knew it was wrong?" Sam sighed, running a hand through his hair. "I was in a bad place," he admitted. "My marriage was falling apart, and I guess I saw something in Julia that I wanted for myself, something I was missing. I let myself believe it was okay because I was lonely and desperate for connection." The raw honesty of his confession took me by surprise, cutting through the anger that had been simmering within me. For the first time I saw Sam not as a villain, but as a flawed human being who had made a terrible mistake, a mistake that had cost us all dearly. "I'm not asking for forgiveness," Sam continued, his voice thick with emotion. "But I wanted to face you, to take responsibility for what I did. You deserve better than what I gave you." Julia squeezed my hand, her eyes glistening with unshed tears. "We're trying to move forward," she said softly, "to rebuild our lives and our marriage. This meeting, it's part of that process. We needed to confront this together to find some way to close this chapter." Sam nodded, his expression one of understanding and regret. "I wish you both the best," he said quietly, "and I hope you can find the peace and happiness you deserve." The meeting ended with a sense of finality, a shared understanding that, while forgiveness might not be possible, acceptance and closure could be. As Julia and I walked back to the car, the weight of the past few months seemed to lift slightly, replaced by a tentative sense of hope. In the days that followed, we continued to navigate the complexities of our relationship, each step a careful balance between healing old wounds and nurturing new growth. The memory of our meeting with Sam lingered, a reminder of the fragility of trust and the resilience of the human heart. We began to rediscover the joy in each other's company, finding solace in the small moments of connection that had once defined our relationship. We spent more time together as a family, taking the children on outings and creating new memories in the warmth of our restored home. One evening, as we sat together on the couch watching the fire crackle in the hearth, Julia turned to me with a thoughtful expression. "I've been thinking," she said softly, "about us, about what we've been through." I nodded, my heart quickening at the seriousness in her tone. "What is it?" "I think we should renew our vows," Julia said, her voice filled with quiet determination. "Not just as a symbol of what we've been through, but as a commitment to the future we want to build together." The suggestion filled me with a surge of emotion, a mix of hope and gratitude that brought tears to my eyes. "I think that's a wonderful idea," I replied, my voice choked with emotion. A new beginning for us. We began to plan the ceremony together, a small and intimate affair with just our closest family and friends. The preparations were a labor of love, each detail a testament to our journey and the bond that had been forged in the crucible of our struggles. On the day of the ceremony, as we stood together beneath a canopy of twinkling lights, surrounded by the people who had supported us through our darkest moments, I felt a profound sense of peace. Julia's eyes, filled with love and determination, met mine as we exchanged vows, a promise to cherish and honor each other, to support and nurture the love that had carried us through the storm. As we kissed, a gentle cheer rose from our friends and family, their applause a celebration of our renewed commitment and the future we had chosen to embrace together. The warmth of their support, the love and hope that filled the air, wrapped around us like a comforting embrace. In the months that followed, we continued to build on the foundation we had laid, finding strength in the love and resilience that had brought us back to each other. Our home, once a place of broken dreams, had become a sanctuary, a testament to the power of forgiveness and the enduring strength of the human spirit. And as we faced the future hand in hand, I knew that no matter what challenges lay ahead, we would navigate them together, united by a love that had been tested by fire and emerged stronger, a love that would continue to grow and thrive, nourished by the lessons we had learned and the hope we held for the future. The chill of winter had set in, casting a serene stillness over our neighborhood. The crisp air carried the scent of pine and wood smoke, a reminder of the warmth we had created inside our newly restored home. The glow of our renewed vows still lingered, infusing our days with a cautious optimism and a sense of purpose as Julia and I worked to rebuild our lives together. Despite the progress we had made, the journey was not without its trials. The pain of the past, though softened by time and effort, occasionally resurfaced, manifesting in moments of doubt and lingering insecurity. Yet, these challenges also served as opportunities for growth, pushing us to communicate more openly and to confront the fears that had once driven us apart. One evening, after the children had been put to bed and the house had settled into a peaceful quiet, Julia approached me with a hesitant smile. "Michael, I've been thinking about something," she began, her voice tinged with a mix of excitement and uncertainty. I looked up from the book I was reading, curious about the spark in her eyes. "What's on your mind?" "I want to go back to school," Julia said, her words tumbling out in a rush. "I've been researching some programs, and there's one in interior design that really interests me. I think it would be a great way for me to pursue something I'm passionate about, and it might also help me find a new direction." Her declaration took me by surprise, a reminder of the dreams and ambitions that had been overshadowed by the chaos of the past year. "That's a wonderful idea," I replied, my heart swelling with pride at her determination. "I think you'd be amazing at it." Julia's face lit up with relief and gratitude, her eyes shining with the excitement of new possibilities. "You really think so?" "Absolutely," I said, taking her hand in mine. "You've always had a great eye for design. This could be a chance for you to do something that really fulfills you." The decision to go back to school marked a significant turning point for Julia. She enrolled in a local community college, balancing her coursework with the demands of parenting and our ongoing efforts to nurture our relationship. The challenges were considerable, but Julia approached them with a newfound sense of purpose and resilience, her passion for her studies rekindling a spark that had been dimmed by the struggles of the past. As Julia immersed herself in her studies, I found myself taking on more responsibilities at home, a shift that required patience and adaptability. I learned to navigate the daily routines of homework, meals, and bedtime stories with a sense of commitment and care, discovering in the process a deeper appreciation for the rhythms of family life. Our evenings became a blend of quiet companionship and shared effort. We spent our nights at the kitchen table, Julia absorbed in her design projects, and me balancing my work with the tasks of running the household. There was a comforting rhythm to our routine, a sense of partnership that had been missing during the tumultuous months of our separation. One crisp afternoon, as Julia and I sat together in the living room, reviewing one of her latest design projects, she turned to me with a thoughtful expression. "Michael, there's something I need to talk to you about," she said, her voice serious. A knot of anxiety tightened in my chest, memories of past conversations flashing through my mind. "What is it?" I asked, my voice tentative. Julia took a deep breath, her gaze steady. "I've been feeling overwhelmed lately," she admitted. "Balancing school, the kids, and everything else. It's been harder than I expected. I think I need some help." Her admission was a stark reminder of the pressures we were both facing, the weight of our efforts to rebuild our lives pressing down on us from all sides. "What kind of help?" I asked, my heart pounding with concern. "I think we should see a family therapist," Julia said quietly. "Not because we're in crisis, but because I think it could help us navigate the challenges we're facing. To find better ways to support each other and to make sure we're on the same page." The suggestion was unexpected, yet as I considered it, I realized the wisdom in her words. We had worked hard to rebuild our relationship, but the complexities of our lives required more than just determination and effort. They required guidance and support. "I think that's a great idea," I replied, my voice steady. "Let's do it." Finding the right therapist was a process of trial and error, but eventually we settled on Dr. Anderson, a warm and perceptive woman with a knack for creating a safe and supportive environment. Our sessions became a space for honest dialogue and reflection, a place where we could explore the challenges we faced and develop new strategies for navigating the complexities of our lives. Through therapy, Julia and I began to uncover the deeper patterns that had contributed to the difficulties in our relationship, the unspoken expectations, the fears and insecurities that had festered beneath the surface. We learned to communicate more openly, to express our needs and desires without fear of judgment or rejection. The process was often painful, forcing us to confront the darker corners of our hearts, but it was also profoundly healing, a way to mend the fractures that had once threatened to tear us apart. One evening, after a particularly illuminating session, Julia and I sat together in the quiet of our living room, the fire casting flickering shadows on the walls. "I feel like we're finally getting somewhere," Julia said softly, her eyes reflecting the warmth of the flames. "Like we're really understanding each other." I nodded, my heart filled with a sense of gratitude and hope. "We've come a long way," I replied, reaching for her hand. "And I think we're stronger for it." As the winter months wore on, Julia and I continued to navigate the complexities of our lives, each day a testament to our resilience and commitment. We found joy in the small moments, building snowmen with the children, sharing quiet dinners by the fire, and celebrating the milestones of Julia's academic journey. The culmination of Julia's hard work came in the form of her first major design project, a complete remodel of our guest room, a space that had long been neglected in the midst of our larger renovation efforts. Julia approached the project with a blend of enthusiasm and meticulous attention to detail, transforming the room into a serene and inviting sanctuary. On the day she unveiled the completed room, I stood in the doorway, awestruck by the transformation. The walls, painted in soft, soothing tones, were adorned with carefully chosen artwork. A plush rug covered the floor, and a comfortable reading nook had been created in one corner, complete with a cozy armchair and a stack of Julia's favorite design books. "Wow," I said, my voice filled with admiration. "This is incredible, Julia. You've outdone yourself." Julia beamed, her eyes shining with pride and satisfaction. "Thank you," she said, her voice tinged with emotion. "It means a lot to hear you say that." As we stood together in the newly transformed space, I felt a profound sense of accomplishment and hope. The room, once a symbol of neglect, had become a testament to Julia's passion and talent, a tangible representation of the growth and healing we had experienced together. In the weeks that followed, Julia's design project became a source of inspiration and pride, a reminder of the power of perseverance and creativity. We continued to build on the foundation we had laid, finding strength and joy in the shared effort of nurturing our relationship and our family. The challenges we faced were far from over, but as winter gave way to the promise of spring, I felt a renewed sense of optimism and determination. Our journey had been marked by pain and struggle, but it had also revealed the depth of our love and the strength of our commitment. And as we looked toward the future, I knew that, no matter what challenges lay ahead, we would face them together. United by a love that had been tested and forged in the crucible of adversity, a love that would continue to grow and flourish, nourished by the lessons we had learned and the hope we held for the days to come. Spring arrived with a breath of fresh air, melting away the winter's chill and infusing our lives with a renewed sense of energy. The days grew longer, the sun warmer, and our home, nestled amidst budding trees and blooming flowers, felt alive with possibility. Julia's design project had become more than just a room. It had ignited a passion that spilled over into every aspect of our lives, bringing with it a sense of purpose and fulfillment. Julia's coursework progressed, and she began to take on small freelance projects. Friends, neighbors, and eventually even a few paying clients sought her advice. Each project became a building block in her growing confidence, and I watched with pride as she balanced her studies, her work, and our family life with grace and determination. One evening, after a particularly long day at work, I came home to find Julia sitting at the kitchen table, surrounded by sketches and fabric swatches. Her eyes were bright with excitement as she looked up to greet me. "Michael, I have some news," she said, her voice bubbling with enthusiasm. I set down my briefcase and crossed the room to join her, intrigued by the energy radiating from her. "What's going on?" I asked, leaning in to get a closer look at her latest designs. "I got offered a part-time job," Julia announced, her smile widening, "at a local interior design firm. It's not a huge position, but it's a start, and it means I can get some real experience while still finishing my degree." The news filled me with a mix of pride and excitement. Julia's journey from the depths of our marital crisis to this moment of professional achievement had been nothing short of remarkable. "That's fantastic, Julia," I said, pulling her into a hug. "You've worked so hard for this. You deserve every bit of success." Julia beamed, her eyes shining with gratitude. "Thank you, Michael. I couldn't have done it without your support." As Julia settled into her new role, our days became a juggling act of schedules and responsibilities. The demands of her job and studies added a layer of complexity to our lives, but it also brought us closer together. We learned to coordinate our time more effectively, to support each other's goals, and to find moments of connection amidst the busyness of our routines. One sunny Saturday morning, as we enjoyed breakfast on the patio, Julia looked up from her coffee with a thoughtful expression. "Michael, I've been thinking," she began, her tone reflective. "What about?" I asked, curious about the pensive look in her eyes. "About us," Julia said, setting her cup down. "About how far we've come and how much we've been through. I want to do something special, something to celebrate our journey." I raised an eyebrow, intrigued. "What do you have in mind?" "A trip," Julia said, her eyes lighting up with excitement. "Just the two of us. Somewhere we can relax, reconnect, and create new memories." The idea of a getaway was both appealing and daunting. The thought of leaving behind the responsibilities of work and family, even for a short time, seemed challenging. Yet, as I looked into Julia's eyes, I saw the longing for a moment of respite, a chance to step away from the pressures of our daily lives and rediscover the joy of being together. "Where would we go?" I asked, already envisioning the possibilities. "I've always wanted to visit the coast," Julia said, her voice tinged with a hint of wistfulness. "Somewhere quiet, with beautiful views and a chance to just be together." The thought of a coastal retreat, with its promise of tranquility and renewal, resonated deeply. "That sounds perfect," I said, reaching across the table to take her hand. "Let's do it." Planning the trip became a shared adventure, each detail a reflection of our growing closeness and mutual desire for connection. We chose a quaint bed and breakfast by the sea, a charming place with a view of the ocean and easy access to the beach. The anticipation of our getaway infused our days with a sense of excitement and hope, a reminder of the joy that could be found in the simple act of being together. The day of our departure arrived with clear skies and a gentle breeze, a perfect backdrop for our journey. As we drove along the winding coastal road, the stress and worries of our daily lives seemed to melt away, replaced by the serenity of the sea and the promise of new experiences. Our bed and breakfast, nestled on a cliff overlooking the ocean, was everything we had hoped for. Warm, inviting, and imbued with a sense of timeless charm. Our room, with its cozy furnishings and large windows framing a breathtaking view of the sea, felt like a haven, a place where we could retreat and reconnect. That evening, as we stood on the balcony, watching the sun dip below the horizon in a blaze of colors, I felt a profound sense of peace. Julia slipped her hand into mine, her eyes reflecting the fading light of the day. "This is perfect," she said softly, her voice filled with contentment. "It really is," I agreed, pulling her close. "I'm so glad we did this." The days that followed were a blend of relaxation and discovery. We spent our mornings exploring the coastline, walking hand in hand along the sandy beaches and dipping our toes into the cool, clear water. Afternoons were filled with quiet moments of reflection, sitting together on the porch, sipping coffee, and watching the waves crash against the shore. In the evenings, we ventured into the nearby town, enjoying the local cuisine and the simple pleasure of each other's company. The intimacy of our shared experiences, the laughter and quiet conversations, rekindled the connection that had once been strained by the weight of our past. One evening, as we sat together on the beach, watching the moon rise over the water, Julia turned to me with a thoughtful expression. "Michael, I've been thinking about something," she said, her voice soft against the backdrop of the waves. "What is it?" I asked, curious about the contemplative look in her eyes. "I've realized something important," Julia said, her gaze steady. "That through everything we've been through, the ups and downs, the pain and the joy, I've never stopped loving you. And I don't think I ever will." Her words, spoken with such clarity and conviction, touched me deeply. "I feel the same way," I replied, my voice choked with emotion. "Our journey hasn't been easy, but it's brought us closer in ways I never imagined. I'm grateful for every moment we've shared, even the difficult ones." As we sat together, the sound of the ocean a soothing backdrop to our quiet conversation, I felt a profound sense of gratitude and love. Our journey, marked by struggle and redemption, had brought us to this moment, a place of healing and renewal, where the past could be laid to rest and the future embraced with hope and joy. The final morning of our trip dawned clear and bright, the air filled with the promise of new beginnings. As we packed our bags and prepared to return home, I felt a sense of bittersweetness, a reluctance to leave the tranquility of our retreat, tempered by the excitement of carrying the lessons we had learned back into our daily lives. As we drove away from the coast, the sun rising over the horizon, I reached for Julia's hand, a silent promise of the journey that lay ahead. Our time by the sea had been a testament to the strength of our love and the resilience of our spirits. A reminder that, no matter what challenges we faced, we would face them together, united by a bond that had been tested and strengthened by the trials of our past. And as we returned to the familiar rhythm of our lives, I knew that the future, with all its uncertainties and possibilities, was something we would navigate side by side, guided by the love and hope that had brought us back to each other. Returning from our trip to the coast, Julia and I found ourselves enveloped by the familiar rhythms of home. The coastal retreat had infused our relationship with a new sense of closeness and renewal, and we were eager to carry that sense of connection into our daily lives. The children greeted us with enthusiastic hugs and stories of their adventures with my parents, their laughter and energy filling the house with warmth and joy. As the days turned into weeks, the demands of our routines quickly resurfaced. Julia's part-time job and coursework, coupled with the responsibilities of parenting, added a layer of complexity to our lives. I found myself juggling work deadlines and family commitments, striving to support Julia's aspirations while maintaining a sense of balance at home. One Friday evening, as we settled into our usual routine of winding down after dinner, Julia approached me with a contemplative expression. "Michael," she began, her voice hesitant, "I've been thinking about something important, and I wanted to talk to you about it." I set aside the magazine I had been flipping through, sensing the weight of her words. "What is it?" I asked, giving her my full attention. Julia took a deep breath, her eyes reflecting a mix of excitement and uncertainty. "My job at the design firm has been going really well," she said. "My boss mentioned the possibility of a full-time position opening up in a few months. It's a big opportunity, but it would mean a lot more work and responsibility." The prospect of Julia taking on a full-time role was both exhilarating and daunting. I could see the spark of ambition in her eyes, the desire to advance in her career and make a meaningful contribution. Yet I also understood the potential impact on our family and the delicate balance we had worked so hard to achieve. "That's incredible news," I replied, choosing my words carefully. "You've put in so much effort and dedication. It's no surprise they want to offer you a bigger role. But how do you feel about it? Are you ready for that kind of commitment?" Julia nodded slowly, her gaze thoughtful. "I think I am," she said. "But I'm also aware of the challenges it could bring. We'd need to make some adjustments at home, and I don't want to overwhelm us. I wanted to talk to you about it because I value your opinion and support." Her honesty and willingness to discuss the implications of her decision touched me deeply. "We'll figure it out together," I said, reaching for her hand. "If this is something you're passionate about, we'll find a way to make it work. We've overcome bigger challenges before." Julia's eyes filled with gratitude as she squeezed my hand. "Thank you, Michael. Your support means everything to me." Over the next few weeks, we engaged in numerous conversations about how to manage the potential changes in our lives. We brainstormed strategies for balancing Julia's increased workload with our family responsibilities, considering options such as hiring additional help around the house and adjusting our schedules to accommodate her new role. As Julia prepared for the transition to a full-time position, I found myself taking on more responsibilities at home. I became more involved in the children's activities, learning to navigate the intricacies of their school schedules, playdates, and extracurriculars. The experience was both challenging and rewarding, deepening my appreciation for the daily efforts that had once fallen predominantly on Julia's shoulders. One evening, after putting the kids to bed, I sat in the kitchen, reflecting on the changes we were experiencing. The house was quiet, save for the soft hum of the dishwasher and the distant murmur of the television in the living room. Julia appeared in the doorway, a tired but contented smile on her face. "Hey," she said, sliding into the chair opposite me. "How are you holding up?" I looked up, meeting her gaze with a smile. "It's been a bit of a learning curve," I admitted, "but I'm managing. How about you? How are you feeling about everything?" Julia sighed, a mixture of exhaustion and satisfaction in her expression. "It's been intense," she said, "but I'm excited about the possibilities. I feel like I'm finally doing something that truly fulfills me. And having your support makes all the difference." The sincerity in her voice and the determination in her eyes reaffirmed my commitment to standing by her side. "I'm proud of you, Julia," I said. "You're doing amazing work, and I'll be here to support you every step of the way." As the weeks turned into months, Julia's transition to a full-time role became a reality. The demands of her job increased, but so did her enthusiasm and sense of purpose. She tackled her new responsibilities with a blend of creativity and dedication, earning the respect and admiration of her colleagues. At home, we continued to adapt, finding new ways to balance our roles and responsibilities. We established a routine that allowed us to manage the demands of our professional and personal lives, carving out time for each other amidst the busyness of our schedules. Our evenings often became a time for reconnection, a chance to share the highlights of our day, and to support each other in our respective journeys. One particularly hectic afternoon, as I navigated the chaos of school pickups and dinner preparations, I received a text from Julia. "Running late. Big meeting. Will explain when I get home. Love you." The brief message conveyed a world of stress and urgency, and I felt a pang of concern for Julia's well-being. As the evening unfolded, I did my best to manage the household tasks, keeping the kids occupied and dinner on track. Julia finally walked through the door, her face flushed with a mix of exhaustion and excitement. She dropped her bag by the door and collapsed onto the couch, letting out a long, relieved sigh. "What a day," she said, her voice tinged with disbelief. I sat down beside her, a plate of leftovers in hand. "Here, you need to eat," I said, passing her the plate. "Tell me everything." Julia took a bite of the food, her expression softening with appreciation. "Thank you," she said, savoring the meal. Today was intense. The meeting was about a big new project, a complete redesign of a commercial space downtown. It's a huge opportunity, and my boss wants me to lead it. The news was both thrilling and overwhelming. I could see the excitement in Julia's eyes, tempered by the weight of the responsibility she was being asked to undertake. "That's amazing, Julia," I said, reaching for her hand. "But it sounds like a lot. How do you feel about it?" Julia took a deep breath, her eyes reflecting a mix of anticipation and apprehension. "I'm nervous," she admitted, "but also really excited. This is a chance to prove myself, to show what I can do. It's a lot of pressure, but I think I'm ready for it." Her words filled me with a renewed sense of pride and admiration. Julia had come so far, transforming the challenges of our past into opportunities for growth and achievement. "I know you can do it," I said, squeezing her hand. "You're incredibly talented, and I have no doubt you'll excel. And I'll be here to support you every step of the way." In the days that followed, Julia threw herself into the project with a blend of passion and determination. Her evenings were filled with sketches, presentations, and meetings, each step bringing her closer to realizing her vision for the redesign. I did my best to manage the home front, finding joy in the small moments of connection with the kids and in the satisfaction of supporting Julia's endeavors. One night, as we sat together in the living room reviewing her latest designs, Julia looked up with a thoughtful expression. "Michael," she said softly, "I know this hasn't been easy. Balancing everything, making sacrifices. It's a lot to ask. But I want you to know how much I appreciate it. Your support means everything to me." Her words, spoken with such sincerity and gratitude, touched me deeply. "I'm happy to do it," I replied, my voice filled with warmth. "We're a team, Julia. And seeing you succeed, seeing the joy it brings you, it's all worth it." As we continued to navigate the complexities of our lives, I felt a renewed sense of hope and optimism. Our journey, marked by struggle and resilience, had brought us to this place, a place of growth and possibility, where the challenges of the past had given way to a future filled with promise and fulfillment. And as we faced the days ahead, I knew that, no matter what obstacles we encountered, we would face them together. United by a love that had been tested and strengthened, a love that would continue to guide us through the ever-evolving landscape of our lives. The summer days stretched long and warm, a comforting routine settling over our home despite the whirlwind of activity that had come to define our lives. Julia's project was in full swing, her evenings consumed by design work and meetings as she endeavored to balance her new responsibilities. I took solace in the stability of our home life, cherishing the moments of connection with our children and the quiet times Julia and I managed to steal away for ourselves. One Thursday evening, as I stood at the stove preparing dinner, the phone rang. Glancing at the caller ID, I saw a number I didn't recognize. Hesitant, I answered. "Hello?" "Hello, Michael. It's Greg. I hope I'm not calling at a bad time," came the familiar voice of Julia's colleague. I was momentarily taken aback. Greg was not someone who usually called me directly. "Hi, Greg. No, it's fine. What's up?" Greg's voice took on a more serious tone. "I wanted to talk to you about something. It's regarding the project Julia's working on. She's been doing an amazing job, but I'm worried she's pushing herself too hard. I've noticed she's been staying late and seems stressed." My heart sank a little. I had seen the late nights and the stress firsthand, but hearing it from someone else added a weight to my concerns. "Thanks for letting me know, Greg. I'll talk to her about it." As I hung up, Julia walked in, her face flushed with excitement and exhaustion. She gave me a tired smile and dropped her bag on the counter. "Smells great," she said, leaning in for a kiss. "Hey," I replied, masking my worry with a smile. How was your day? Busy but productive, Julia said, grabbing a glass of water. I think we're finally making progress on the layout. I nodded, stirring the pot absent-mindedly. Greg called, I said, watching her reaction carefully. Julia paused, her brow furrowing. Greg, why? He's worried about you, I said gently. He thinks you're overworking yourself. Julia sighed, rubbing her temples. I appreciate his concern, but I'm fine, Michael. This project is important, and I need to give it my all. I set down the spoon and turned to face her, placing a hand on her shoulder. I know you're dedicated, Julia, and I'm so proud of you. But you can't pour from an empty cup. You need to take care of yourself, too. She looked into my eyes, the tension in her expression softening slightly. I know, she admitted, her voice a whisper. I just feel like there's so much riding on this. I pulled her into a hug, feeling her relax against me. We're in this together, I said. Let's figure out a way to make this work without burning out. That evening, we talked at length about finding a balance between her work and personal life. We made a plan to set clearer boundaries for her work hours, ensuring she had time to unwind and recharge. Julia agreed to delegate more tasks to her team, and I promised to help out more at home to lighten her load. The next few weeks saw a shift in our routines. Julia began to leave the office earlier, allowing herself time to decompress before diving into family life. Our evenings became a sanctuary, a time to reconnect and unwind from the day's stresses. We established a tradition of taking evening walks after dinner, the gentle rhythm of our footsteps on the pavement a soothing counterpoint to the busyness of our days. One evening, as we strolled through the neighborhood, the sun casting long shadows across the sidewalk, Julia squeezed my hand. Thank you, she said, her voice soft, for being here, for supporting me. I don't know what I'd do without you. I smiled, feeling a deep sense of contentment. You do great, I replied, kissing her forehead. But I'm glad I get to be a part of your journey. As summer gave way to fall, the pace of our lives continued to ebb and flow. Julia's project reached a critical phase, her days filled with final meetings and last-minute adjustments. I watched with pride as she navigated the challenges with a blend of grace and determination, her passion for her work shining through even in the most stressful moments. One crisp October afternoon, as the leaves turned shades of gold and crimson, Julia invited me to visit the project site. I want you to see it, she said, her eyes sparkling with excitement. We're almost done, and I think you'll love what we've created. I eagerly agreed, curious to see the culmination of her hard work. The site was a bustling hive of activity, the air filled with the sounds of construction and the scent of fresh paint. Julia led me through the space, her voice animated as she described the design choices and the vision behind each element. As we walked through the newly designed spaces, I was struck by the transformation. What had once been a dull, lifeless building was now a vibrant, inviting environment, each detail reflecting Julia's talent and creativity. This is incredible, I said, my admiration evident. You've done an amazing job. Julia's face lit up with pride. Thank you, she said, her voice tinged with emotion. It's been a labor of love, and seeing it come together like this makes it all worth it. As we stood in the heart of the redesigned space, surrounded by the fruits of Julia's labor, I felt a profound sense of gratitude and admiration. Julia's journey had been a testament to her resilience and passion, a journey marked by struggle and triumph, and the unwavering support of our love for each other. In the days that followed, Julia's project reached its final stages, and the official unveiling approached. The event was a culmination of months of hard work and dedication, a celebration of creativity and achievement. As the big day arrived, our family gathered to support Julia, our excitement and pride palpable. The unveiling was a resounding success, the space receiving rave reviews from clients and visitors alike. Julia's eyes sparkled with joy as she mingled with guests, her smile reflecting a deep sense of accomplishment. I watched from the sidelines, my heart swelling with pride as I observed her in her element, surrounded by the admiration and respect she had earned. As the evening drew to a close, Julia joined me, her expression a blend of exhilaration and exhaustion. "We did it," she said, her voice filled with awe. "I can't believe it's finally done." I wrapped my arm around her, pulling her close. "You did it," I corrected gently. "This is all because of your hard work and talent. I'm so proud of you." Julia's eyes shimmered with gratitude as she leaned into me. "I couldn't have done it without your support," she said. "Thank you for believing in me, for being there every step of the way." As we stood together, surrounded by the buzz of celebration and the glow of success, I felt a profound sense of fulfillment. Our journey, marked by challenges and triumphs, had brought us to this moment, a place of achievement and connection, where the trials of our past had given way to a future filled with promise and possibility. The following weeks were a time of reflection and renewal. Julia's project was complete, and the pace of our lives began to settle into a more manageable rhythm. We took the opportunity to reconnect with each other, to savor the simple joys of family life, and to plan for the future with a sense of hope and anticipation. One evening, as we sat together on the porch, watching the sunset paint the sky with hues of pink and orange, Julia turned to me with a thoughtful expression. "Michael," she said softly, "I've been thinking about what's next. I want to take some time to focus on us, on our family. We've been through so much, and I think we deserve a break, a chance to just enjoy each other." Her words filled me with a deep sense of warmth and contentment. "I think that sounds perfect," I replied, squeezing her hand. "We've come a long way, and I can't wait to see what the future holds for us." As we sat together, the evening air cool and crisp, I felt a renewed sense of hope and joy. Our journey, marked by struggle and growth, had brought us to a place of healing and connection. And as we looked to the future, I knew that, no matter what challenges lay ahead, we would face them together. United by a love that had been tested and strengthened, a love that would continue to guide us through the ever-changing landscape of our lives. The crisp autumn air enveloped us as Julia and I sat on the porch, the sky ablaze with the hues of sunset. Her words lingered in the quiet between us, the promise of a pause, a moment to savor our journey and each other, hanging in the air. I squeezed her hand gently, feeling a surge of gratitude for the peace and contentment that had settled over our lives. "I think that sounds perfect," I finally replied, breaking the tranquil silence. "We've been through a lot, and taking this time together sounds exactly right." Julia smiled softly, her eyes reflecting the golden light of the setting sun. "I've been thinking a lot about everything we've overcome," she said, "and I just want to focus on us, on our family. We've earned this." Her words echoed the sentiments that had been quietly growing within me. The challenges we had faced, the strain of balancing careers and family, the tumultuous journey of rediscovering ourselves, had forged a bond between us that felt unbreakable. Now, as we looked toward the future, the prospect of cherishing our love and our family without the weight of external pressures filled me with a profound sense of peace. As the weeks passed, we embraced the simplicity of our days. Julia took a brief hiatus from work, savoring the freedom to linger over morning coffees and to immerse herself in long, leisurely walks with the children. Our home became a sanctuary, a place where laughter and love thrived, where the echoes of our past struggles faded into the background. One afternoon, as we gathered in the backyard for a spontaneous barbecue, our children chasing each other through the grass, Julia glanced at me with a mischievous twinkle in her eye. "Remember when we first met Tom and Sarah?" she teased, referring to our neighbors who had become dear friends over the years. I chuckled, flipping burgers on the grill. "How could I forget?" I replied. "They practically adopted us into their family when we moved in." Julia grinned, her gaze drifting toward the children. "They've been such a big part of our lives," she said thoughtfully. "I'm grateful for their friendship." Our conversation turned to reminiscing about the milestones we had celebrated together. The children's birthdays, neighborhood block parties, and impromptu weekend getaways. Each memory was infused with a sense of warmth and camaraderie, a testament to the bonds we had formed within our community. As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting a gentle glow over our gathering, I found myself reflecting on the journey that had led us here. Our love had weathered storms and emerged stronger. Our family had grown amidst the challenges we had faced, and now, as we embraced this period of tranquility, I felt an overwhelming sense of gratitude for the life we had built together. In the quiet moments that followed, after the children had been tucked into bed and the last embers of the barbecue had faded, Julia and I found ourselves sitting on the porch once more. The air was cool and still, the stars beginning to twinkle overhead. I reached for Julia's hand, our fingers intertwining naturally as we gazed out into the night. "I love our life," Julia said softly, breaking the silence. "I love our home, our children, everything." I nodded, feeling the weight of her words settling deep within me. "Me too," I replied, "and I love you, more than words can say." As we sat together, enveloped by the quiet beauty of the night, I knew that our journey was far from over. There would be new challenges to navigate, new dreams to pursue, but I was certain that as long as we faced them together, with love, with resilience, and with unwavering support, we would continue to find joy and fulfillment in the life we had built. And as the night stretched on, cradling us in its gentle embrace, I felt a profound sense of peace, knowing that no matter what lay ahead, our love would be the guiding light that led us through the ever-changing landscape of our lives. The days melded into a comfortable routine as autumn surrendered to the crisp embrace of winter. Julia and I cherished the quiet moments together, the warmth of our home a refuge from the chill outside. Our children thrived in the familiarity of their routines, their laughter echoing through the halls as they eagerly anticipated the holiday season. As December unfolded, our home became a sanctuary of twinkling lights and festive decorations. The scent of cinnamon and pine permeated the air, creating a sense of magic and anticipation. Julia threw herself into the joy of the season, orchestrating holiday traditions with a contagious enthusiasm that brought us all closer together. One evening, as we gathered around the fireplace, the soft glow of the flames casting flickering shadows on the walls, Julia turned to me with a mischievous smile. "I have a surprise for you," she announced, her eyes sparkling with excitement. I raised an eyebrow, intrigued. "Oh, what is it?" Julia reached into her pocket and pulled out 2 tickets. "I know how much you love jazz," she said, holding them out to me. "I managed to get tickets to the holiday jazz concert downtown. It's next weekend." My heart swelled with gratitude and excitement. "Julia, that's amazing," I exclaimed, taking the tickets from her. "Thank you, I can't wait." She leaned in, pressing a quick kiss to my cheek. "I thought it would be a nice way to celebrate everything," she said softly, her voice filled with warmth. As the week progressed, anticipation for the concert grew. Julia and I stole moments throughout our busy days to plan our evening out. Arranging for a sitter for the kids, deciding where to have dinner beforehand, and imagining the joy of immersing ourselves in the music that we both loved. The night of the concert arrived amidst a flurry of excitement. Julia looked radiant in a deep blue dress that complemented her eyes, her hair swept up in an elegant twist. I couldn't help but feel a surge of pride as I looked at her, struck once again by her beauty and the depth of our connection. Dinner was a lively affair, filled with laughter and shared memories. We reminisced about our early days together, the awkward first dates, the moments of uncertainty that had blossomed into enduring love. Julia's laughter was infectious, her eyes dancing with joy as she recounted our journey with a mix of nostalgia and humor. As we made our way to the concert hall, the city lights twinkled around us, adding to the festive atmosphere. The venue was alive with energy, the air thrumming with the anticipation of the performance to come. Julia and I settled into our seats, the stage bathed in soft light as the musicians took their places. The first notes of the saxophone filled the air, weaving a tapestry of melody and rhythm that transported us to another world. Julia's hand found mine, her fingers intertwining with mine as we surrendered to the magic of the music. We swayed together in the darkness, lost in the beauty of each moment, the cares of the world melting away. At intermission, we lingered in the lobby, savoring glasses of champagne and sharing snippets of our favorite pieces from the concert so far. Julia's eyes sparkled with delight, her enthusiasm contagious as she spoke about the intricacies of the music and the skill of the performers. As the evening drew to a close, we emerged from the concert hall, the echoes of the final encore still lingering in the air. Julia turned to me, her face illuminated by the soft glow of streetlights. "Thank you for tonight," she said softly, her voice filled with emotion. I pulled her close, wrapping her in a warm embrace. "No, thank you," I replied sincerely. "For everything. For this night. For our life together." I couldn't ask for more. We stood together in the quiet of the night, the city around us bustling with life and yet somehow distant. In that moment, with Julia in my arms and the music of the night still echoing in our hearts, I felt a profound sense of gratitude for the journey we had traveled together. The highs and lows, the challenges and triumphs, all woven into the fabric of our shared life. As we walked hand in hand through the city streets, the promise of a new year on the horizon, I knew that whatever the future held, as long as we faced it together, with love, with laughter, and with unwavering support, we would continue to find joy and fulfillment in each other's company. And as the clock struck midnight, ushering in a new day and a new year, I whispered a silent prayer of thanks for the gift of Julia and the life we had built together. A life filled with love, laughter, and endless possibilities. The new year dawned with a Christmas that mirrored the renewed sense of purpose and joy in our lives. Julia and I welcomed the change of season with a sense of anticipation, our hearts full of gratitude for the blessings of the past year and excitement for what lay ahead. As January unfolded, our home became a sanctuary of resolutions and plans. Julia and I spent evenings by the fireplace, mapping out dreams for the future and reflecting on the journey that had brought us to this point. Our conversations ranged from practical considerations, like home improvements and career aspirations, to deeper reflections on the values we hoped to instill in our children and the legacy we wanted to create together. One chilly evening, after the children had been tucked into bed, Julia and I sat in the cozy nook of our living room, a pot of tea steaming between us. The glow of the fire cast flickering shadows on the walls as we settled into a comfortable silence, the crackling of the logs providing a soothing backdrop to our thoughts. "I've been thinking about the house," Julia began, her voice thoughtful, "about the renovations we've been putting off." I nodded, taking a sip of tea. "Yeah, we've talked about updating the kitchen and maybe redoing the guest bathroom." Julia smiled, her eyes bright with enthusiasm. "Exactly. And I think now might be a good time to start planning. It would freshen up the space and make it even more comfortable for us and for when we have guests over." Her excitement was contagious, and I found myself warming to the idea. "You're right," I agreed. "Maybe we could start with the kitchen. It's the heart of our home, after all." Over the next few weeks, Julian and I dove into the process of planning and budgeting for the renovations. We visited home improvement stores, consulted with contractors, and pored over design magazines for inspiration. Our evenings were filled with lively discussions about countertops and cabinet styles, each decision bringing us closer to realizing our vision for our home. One Saturday morning, we sat at the kitchen table with stacks of brochures and sketches spread out before us. Julia traced her finger over a blueprint, her brow furrowed in concentration. "What do you think about extending the island?" she asked, her voice tinged with excitement. I leaned in, studying the plans with her. "I like that idea," I replied, pointing to a corner of the sketch. "And maybe we could add some more storage along this wall." Julia nodded, her eyes lighting up. "That's perfect. And what about the color scheme?" I was thinking a mix of white cabinets with a pop of color for the backsplash. As we immersed ourselves in the details of the renovation plans, I marveled at Julia's creativity and vision. Her passion for design shone through in every suggestion and idea, transforming our home improvement project into a labor of love. an opportunity to create a space that reflected not just our style, but our shared dreams and aspirations. With each step forward, our home began to undergo a transformation. The kitchen was the first to receive a makeover, the sound of hammers and drills echoing through the house as the old gave way to the new. Julia's eye for detail ensured that every element, from the sleek countertops to the carefully chosen light fixtures, came together harmoniously, creating a space that was both functional and beautiful. As the renovations progressed, our home became a hub of activity once more. Our children eagerly pitched in, painting walls and assembling furniture under Julia's patient guidance. Evenings were spent gathered around the dinner table, sharing stories and laughter amidst the scent of freshly baked cookies and the hum of construction outside. One afternoon, as Julia and I stood in the newly renovated kitchen, admiring the gleaming surfaces and streamlined design, I wrapped my arms around her, pulling her close. "It's incredible," I murmured, pressing a kiss to her temple. "You've really outdone yourself." Julia leaned into me, her smile radiant. "I'm so glad you like it," she said softly. "I wanted it to feel like a space where we can create memories together." And indeed, the renovated kitchen became more than just a room. It became a symbol of our shared journey, a testament to our commitment to each other, and to creating a home filled with love and warmth. As we navigated the challenges and joys of daily life, our renewed space served as a reminder of the strength of our bond and the endless possibilities that lay ahead. In the quiet moments that followed, after the dust had settled and our home had settled into its new identity, Julia and I found ourselves sitting on the porch once more. The air was crisp with the promise of spring, the stars twinkling overhead in a sky that stretched endlessly before us. "I'm proud of us," Julia said softly, breaking the comfortable silence. "Of everything we've accomplished together," I nodded, squeezing her hand gently. "Me too," I replied, my voice filled with emotion. "And I'm grateful for every moment of it." As we sat together, enveloped by the gentle embrace of the night, I knew that our journey was far from over. There would be new challenges to navigate, new dreams to pursue, but I was certain that as long as we faced them together, with love, with laughter, and with unwavering support, we would continue to find joy and fulfillment in the life we had built. And as the seasons changed and our children grew, I looked forward to the adventures that awaited us, a future shaped by the love and dedication that had carried us through the years, and a home that would always be a sanctuary, a place where our dreams could take root and flourish. Spring arrived with a burst of color and life, transforming our surroundings into a tapestry of blossoms and new beginnings. Julia and I found ourselves drawn to the outdoors, our weekends filled with hikes through verdant trails and picnics in sun-dappled clearings. The warmth of the sun on our faces mirrored the warmth in our hearts as we embraced the season of renewal. One Saturday morning, as we embarked on a hike through a nearby nature reserve, Julia turned to me with a gleam in her eye. "Do you remember when we used to come here before the kids were born?" she asked, her voice filled with nostalgia. I smiled, the memories flooding back. "Yes, I remember," I replied. "We'd spend hours exploring these trails, getting lost in conversation and marveling at the beauty of nature." Julia nodded, her gaze drifting over the canopy of trees above us. "It feels like a lifetime ago," she mused, "but in a way it feels like yesterday." As we wandered along the winding path, our footsteps echoing in the quiet of the forest, Julia spoke of her dreams for the future. She talked about wanting to travel more with the children, to show them the wonders of the world beyond our familiar surroundings. Her words painted a picture of adventures yet to come, of shared experiences that would deepen our bonds as a family. I listened, captivated by her vision and the passion in her voice. Together, we began to sketch out plans for summer vacations and weekend getaways, dreams that felt both ambitious and achievable, fueled by our shared desire to create lasting memories with our children. Back at home, our weekends were filled with gardening and outdoor projects. Julia's green thumb transformed our backyard into a vibrant oasis, a riot of colors and scents that beckoned us outside at every opportunity. Our children eagerly pitched in, their laughter mingling with the sound of birdsong as they helped plant seeds and water delicate blooms. One afternoon, as I watched Julia and the children work together in the garden, I felt a surge of pride and gratitude. The scene before me captured everything I cherished about our life together: the warmth of family, the beauty of nature, and the sense of purpose that came from nurturing our surroundings. As spring gave way to summer, our days were filled with sun-soaked adventures and lazy afternoons spent lounging by the pool. Evenings found us gathered on the porch, savoring the simple pleasures of barbecues and homemade ice cream, the chatter of our children blending with the symphony of crickets and cicadas. One particularly warm evening, as twilight bathed the sky in hues of pink and gold, Julia and I found ourselves sitting on the porch swing, a gentle breeze stirring the air around us. The day's activities had left us tired but content, our hearts full from the shared moments of joy and connection. "I love this time of year," Julia murmured, breaking the comfortable silence. I nodded in agreement, reaching for her hand. "Me too," I replied softly. "It feels like everything is in bloom, both outside and within us." Julia leaned her head against my shoulder, her fingers laced with mine. "I've been thinking about how far we've come," she said quietly, "about the challenges we've faced and how we've grown stronger together." Her words resonated deeply with me, reminding me of the obstacles we had overcome and the resilience we had discovered within ourselves and our relationship. "We've come a long way," I acknowledged, pressing a kiss to the top of her head. "And we've built something beautiful." As we sat together, enveloped by the peace of the summer evening, I felt a profound sense of gratitude for the life we had created, a life shaped by love, laughter, and shared dreams. Our journey had been marked by twists and turns, moments of uncertainty and moments of joy, but through it all, we had remained steadfast in our commitment to each other and to our family. And as the stars emerged in the darkening sky, casting their gentle light over us, I knew that whatever the future held, as long as we faced it together, with love, with courage, and with unwavering faith in each other, we would continue to find happiness and fulfillment in the journey we had embarked upon together. The golden hues of autumn descended upon our home, painting the landscape in shades of amber and crimson. Julia and I found solace in the familiarity of the season, our days filled with the rhythm of school routines, work commitments, and cherished moments of togetherness. As October unfolded, our children eagerly anticipated Halloween, their excitement palpable as they debated costume ideas and plotted routes for trick-or-treating. Julia threw herself into the festivities with her trademark enthusiasm, transforming our home into a haunted haven of decorations and homemade treats. One crisp Saturday morning, we ventured to the pumpkin patch as a family, the air alive with the scent of hay and the laughter of children. Our youngest, Emily, squealed with delight as she selected the perfect pumpkin, her tiny hands struggling to lift the hefty gourd into the wagon. Julia and I exchanged a knowing smile, our hearts full as we watched our children explore the rows of pumpkins, their faces lit with wonder and joy. We wandered through the maze together, our footsteps crunching on fallen leaves, sharing whispered conversations and stealing kisses beneath the shade of ancient oak trees. As we loaded our bounty of pumpkins into the car, Julia turned to me with a mischievous glint in her eye. "I have an idea," she said, her voice tinged with excitement. "Why don't we host a pumpkin carving party next weekend? We could invite Tom and Sarah and maybe a few other friends from the neighborhood." I chuckled, captivated by her spontaneity. "That sounds like a lot of fun," I replied. "Let's do it." The following weekend, our home buzzed with activity as friends and neighbors gathered for the pumpkin carving party. The aroma of cider and cinnamon filled the air, mingling with the sound of laughter and the steady hum of knives against pumpkins. Tom and Sarah arrived first, their children in tow, their faces flushed with anticipation. Soon the kitchen table was a riot of creativity, with pumpkins of all shapes and sizes taking on whimsical forms under the deft hands of our guests. Julia moved effortlessly among them, offering encouragement and gentle guidance as she carved intricate designs into her own pumpkin. As the afternoon stretched into evening, we migrated to the backyard, where a bonfire crackled and cast a warm glow over our gathering. The children ran wild with energy, their costumes now adorned with pumpkin-themed accessories crafted from the remnants of our afternoon's work. I found myself drawn to Julia, her smile radiant in the flickering light of the fire. "Thank you for this," I murmured, pulling her close. She leaned into me, her gaze softening. "I just wanted to create memories," she replied quietly. "For us, for the children." And indeed, the evening unfolded into a tapestry of laughter and camaraderie, a celebration of friendship and the simple joys of the season. We shared stories and toasted marshmallows, our voices rising and falling with the crackle of the flames. As the night drew to a close, our guests bid us farewell with promises to do it again soon. Julia and I lingered by the dying embers of the fire, the air thick with the lingering scent of wood smoke and autumn leaves. "It was a perfect day," Julia said softly, her hand finding mine. I nodded, my heart full. "It was," I agreed, "and it's moments like these that remind me how lucky I am." We stood together in the quiet of the night, the stars twinkling overhead like scattered diamonds. In Julia's embrace, I found solace and gratitude for the life we had built, the challenges we had overcome, the joys we had shared, and the unwavering love that anchored us through it all. As we retreated inside, leaving the remnants of our celebration behind us, I knew that our journey was far from over. There would be more seasons to navigate, more memories to create, but as long as we faced them together, with love, with laughter, and with a deep-rooted appreciation for each other and our family, we would continue to find fulfillment and happiness in the moments that made up our lives. And as we settled into bed that night, the quiet of the house wrapping around us like a comforting blanket, I whispered a silent prayer of thanks for Julia and the life we had created together. A life filled with love, laughter, and the promise of endless possibilities. As winter descended upon our little corner of the world, our home became a haven of warmth and togetherness. The chill in the air drew us closer, wrapping us in a cocoon of comfort and quiet joy. Julia and I reveled in the simple pleasures of cozy evenings by the fire, the soft glow of Christmas lights casting a gentle ambiance over our living room. In the weeks leading up to the holidays, our home buzzed with the excitement of preparation. Julia's enthusiasm for decorating transformed our space into a winter wonderland, with garlands of pine and twinkling ornaments adorning every corner. The scent of freshly baked cookies wafted through the air, a testament to Julia's culinary prowess and her dedication to creating magical moments for our family. One evening, as we sat together on the couch, wrapped in blankets and sipping hot cocoa, Julia turned to me with a mischievous glint in her eye. "Do you remember our first Christmas together?" she asked, her voice soft with nostalgia. I chuckled, the memory of that snowy holiday season flooding back. "How could I forget?" I replied, reaching for her hand. "It was just the two of us, a tiny apartment and a makeshift tree." Julia smiled, her eyes sparkling. "And look how far we've come," she murmured. "Now we have our beautiful home, our children. It's everything I've ever dreamed of." Her words touched me deeply, a reminder of the journey we had embarked upon together. The highs and lows, the laughter and tears, all woven into the fabric of our shared history. "It's everything I've ever dreamed of, too," I admitted, pressing a kiss to her forehead. As Christmas drew nearer, our days were filled with traditions old and new. We visited tree farms to find the perfect centerpiece for our living room, the children scampering among rows of evergreens in search of the tallest, fullest tree. Back at home, we gathered around the fireplace to trim the tree, the children carefully hanging ornaments passed down through generations, while Julia strung popcorn and cranberries with practiced ease. On Christmas Eve, our home glowed with the soft light of candles and the twinkle of fairy lights. The children's excitement was palpable as they nestled into bed, their dreams filled with visions of sugar plums and Santa's sleigh. Julia and I lingered in the quiet of the night, savoring the magic of the season and the anticipation of Christmas morning. As the clock struck midnight, we exchanged gifts by the light of the tree, laughter filling the air as we unwrapped tokens of love and gratitude. Julia's thoughtful presence reflected her deep understanding of each family member's wishes and desires, while mine aimed to capture the essence of her passions and dreams. In the stillness of the early morning hours, after the children had fallen asleep and the last embers of the fire began to fade, Julia and I stood together in the glow of the Christmas tree. The room was hushed, the air thick with the promise of a new year and the memories we had created together. "I love you," Julia whispered, her voice a tender caress. "I love you too," I replied, pulling her close, and as we stood there wrapped in the warmth of each other's embrace, I knew that our home was more than just a place. It was a sanctuary, a reflection of our love and commitment to each other and to our family. In Julia's arms, surrounded by the love and laughter that filled our lives, I found peace and contentment, a feeling that transcended words and spoke directly to the heart. As the years unfolded, our home continued to evolve, a testament to our shared dreams and the bonds that held us together. Through joys and sorrows, triumphs and challenges, Julia and I navigated life's twists and turns hand in hand, knowing that as long as we faced them together, our love would continue to grow and flourish. And as I looked ahead to the future, filled with hope and endless possibilities, I knew that our story was far from over. Together, we had built a life rooted in love, laughter, and the unwavering belief that with each passing day, our home would remain a place where memories were made, dreams were realized, and love would always find its way back to us.